transhumanism is a way to further tighten the ropes around our necks, while presenting it as something positive by pointing out key things that are desirable to people, such as immortality. Because most people are afraid to die. They are afraid of the unknown, and they don't want to leave their loved ones behind. With the singularity in place, that won't happen, or deaths will at least be very rare and far between. People get what they want, unity, and the overlords get what they want, synthetic, artificial unity, created with technology. Then the new trap closes around people, who are turning into immortal cyborgs who can't escape. They are stuck with rejuvenating artificial bodies that never die or deteriorate because everything in their bodies can be replaced and eventually be self-healing. It's just a matter of reorganizing the manufactured cells. Nanobots in the body, and new limbs and organs can easily heal, or rather self-rejuvenate. People will be stuck for an eternity, figuratively speaking, in cyborg bodies, in service to, and as part of, Lucifer's legions. If this is not threatening to us, I don't know what is. It is the same as the definition of nightmare or hell to me. Fortunately, there is a solution, which I will come to later.
The United Nations' role in transhumanism. Only by looking at the name, United Nations, it's easy to see that at least one of the goals for this organization is to unify all countries in the world into becoming one single nation under God, a one world government. This is not a secret, the UN freely admits to this. More specifically, they are the linking and negotiating body between countries. In order to unite them, they are the intermediary. However, what they don't tell us, but is known to many who work there, 53, is that they are also involved in preparing for the second coming, a religious leader who will sit upon the world throne. The UN supports the AI movement, as well. The second coming from a new perspective. Before we move on, I want to make a correction. In the WPP I argued that the returning Messiah would be an alien invader force leader, who will take on that role of becoming the world leader. Aside from the fact that evidence of this was discussed in the WPP, it is also supported by a number of channeled entities, such as the Asher Command, the entities behind the Great White Brotherhood. This is going back to the Theosophical Society from the 19th century, founded by Madame Helena Blavatsky. She was channeling what she called Ascended Masters, and their message had everything to do with the Asher Command descending to Earth to help save us from ourselves. Alice Bailey, one of MDM Blavatsky's successors, continued to spread her mentor's teachings, even more extensively emphasizing the messianic message. She had deep ties to the United Nations through something she called Lucis Trust, which is still part of the United Nations. The term Lucis Trust is actually a play on Lucifer's Trust and Lucifer Publishing Company. Something that was discussed in detail in the WPP. In the 1980s, a man who supposedly possessed unnational powers, was a frequent visitor in the United Nations building, and even met regularly with U.S. presidents, such as George H.W. Bush. He is believed by many officials in the United Nations to be the new Messiah. As a matter of fact, many who hold positions in the UN are Theosophists. It is stated they follow MDM Blavatsky's doctrines, while many others are fundamental Christians and or born-again Christians and thus believe in the second coming. I wrote in my papers that the second coming would most likely be in key. This might or might not be the case, but I could have made a mistake when I concluded that. If we ponder the triad of Osiris, Isis, and Horus from old Egyptian mythology, Osiris is the equivalent to N.Key, Isis is his niece, being Prince Enlil's, Ninurta's, daughter, and Horus is Marduk, Enki's and Isis' son. Horus became the Messiah figure of his time, and there are similar Messiah scenarios earlier and later on in history. The Savior figure who is most renowned in the Western world is, of course, Jesus Christ or Jeshua ben Joseph. There are other versions of this name. I also attached Enki to Jesus. This is most likely false. The Jesus figure was most likely Marduk and not Enki. The Messiah must be, as earlier mythology and history suggest, the Son and not the Father. Therefore, the future Messiah should be Marduk returning as Christ, not Enki, if we go on what was written in the New Testament. Thus, the correction the divine figure different religions are waiting for, from what I can see, is Marduk. The Antichrist, seen from one perspective, is you and I and everybody else who does not support or believe in the Christ, it is state Marduk, as our savior. Then, what role does his father, Enki, play in all this? Isn't he supposed to come back and rule in the upcoming age of Aquarius? Isn't he the water carrier in the old Sumerian texts, whose sign is Aquarius, the water sign? Yes, he is. Lord Marduk is already here and has been here, on and off, for millennia. As much as he is Satan and the Lord of this world, he is also the Christ, something I'm sure Christians don't want to hear or believe. However, now it's soon time for Marduk's new glorious days, in which he can rule mankind openly. His father has already returned from what I have concluded, and albeit the age of Aquarius is Enki's sign, he will most possibly not rule openly, he is still playing the father role. Enki will be the one pulling the strings in the background, if Marduk lets him. Enki's and Marduk's roles in the artificial intelligence movement will be further discussed in an upcoming chapter.